The truth about friendships. Friendships are one of the most complicated relationships in the world. And one of the biggest reasons for this to become so complicated is because there are no destined responsibilities or defined responsibilities when it comes to friendship. So, for an example, if we take a relationship between a parent and a kid, a parent has relationships for their kids and responsibilities for them to do for their kids and vice versa. But when it comes to friendship, not saying that there are no responsibilities, but they are not defined. There is nowhere said that these should be done by friends or these shouldn't be done by friends. So this is one of the most complicated things to understand in your life. But when you understand it and when you have real good friends, your life is gonna be amazing. So without further ado, man, my name is Sahas, aka Sosa. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Every single day, but he's there for you when you need him to be there. So for an example, it doesn't matter if your friend is out here texting you every single day or talking to you, but when you have a problem, he's nowhere to be found. A real friend is someone that might not be always there, always talking to you, talking about nonsense that doesn't matter and talk about it every single day. He might not be doing that, but when you have a problem, when you need him, that's the moment where he steps in and he starts listening to you and say, okay, let's figure a solution out to these problems. So those are real friends, and these people are really easy to identify because in a world full of people where a lot of people are always talking and always doing this stuff that doesn't even really matter, it looks like they are friends, but they are not really your friends because they are just trying to talk to someone, or they're calling you because they're bored or something like that. So the best way to find out is that when you do have a problem, try to find out friends who are actually there for you, who would listen to you and who would not come up and say something stupid and actually listen to you. One of the biggest things that happens to you, try explaining your problems to a friend, and if he listens to you rather than saying, oh, I had a problem very similar to that, or saying something like, oh, I had a friend who had a problem like that, those people really don't care about you. So if you have a real friend and when you go through something and you express and you say, hey man, I got this problem, and he says like, okay, let me listen to it, and he really stays and he really listens to you, that's a real friend. And another easy way to find a good friend in your life is when you don't have a specific reason to be friends, but you are still friends. This is very easy to identify because I had so many friends when I was in school. When I was going to school, I had friends in my school. I had friends that I went to classes with, all these different types of people. But once you get out of that situation and you're like, what happened to all these people? It's like once that factor that kept you together is no longer there, you're no longer friends. So a real friend is someone who doesn't stay with you for a reason. And if some friend is there for a reason, just so you know, once that reason is not there, he's probably gonna be gone. So it's really easy to find these people apart is because always and almost always we have a reason to be friends with someone, and every now and then these reasons end up getting shaky, or you might finish what you were doing together, or you might not be involving in the same kinds of acts anymore. So now it's a real good time to see if he's a real friend. Is that, oh, I don't go to school no more, but that friend, he still talks to me, we hang out sometime, that's a real friend. So that's a very easy way to understand who is a real friend in your life, is that you don't really need a reason to be friends. You don't have to be doing the same things or going to the same school or learning the same stuff or studying. It doesn't matter. Friendship does not depend on factors, it depends on your relationship with each other. So that's one thing you really have to keep in your mind when you think about friends. A friend is someone that you can tell anything at any time, regardless of what it is that you have to tell to this person, regardless of how messed up it is, or regardless of how vulnerable it is, or regardless of how messed up it is, you should be able to tell that friend about it. And it doesn't matter what time it is, what place it is, that friend, if he's a real friend, he would be there for you regardless of what the problem is. So it's really easy to figure out this as well as the things we talked about before. This is also really easy to understand and figure out, is because you don't even have to do much, but you have to listen to yourself. When you listen to yourself, look at some of these people and be like, if I went through that situation, could I tell that person that? Would he think this of me? Would he think bad of me? Or would he try to embarrass me? Or would he try to shame me because of it? And most of the time you will find that solution very quickly, is because if you have a friend that you think is not your best friend, or he's not kind of your best friend, you don't want to tell him anything. And sometimes if you have this problem, ask yourself that question: if I went through this situation, would I be okay to tell him this? Would he perceive this okay? And in that way you can really identify between good friends and bad friends in order for you to evolve in your life. And the next thing that I have to tell you is, this is not exactly how can you find a good friend. This one is actually that be the friend that you want your friends to be. So rather than always complaining and saying, man, I wish I had good friends, I wish I had people like this in my life, actually try to be that person. You know, everybody wants to have a Tony Yayo in their group, but they don't want to be the Tony Yayo in their group. So what I'm telling you is, actually be that guy before you actually ask people, or make people be something that they're not really who they are. So what you try to have to do first is that be that friend first and see if that works, because most of the times we ask things from other people that we don't even have, things we don't even give to them, we ask in return, and it's not going to work out like that, because you have to be a good friend first to make sure you have good friends in your life. So this is very easy and at the same time very understandable. So one of the things that you have to do is that be the friend that you want your friends to be, and then if these people are not reacting in a way that you want them to react, step away. That's all right. But first, you have to be the guy that you want them to be. In that way, you can understand what they think of you, and at the same time, you can understand what you want from friendships as well in the long run. So this is one of the most important things that you can do as a friend. So try and do that in your friendships. And the last thing that I have to tell you, it is kind of a hard pill to swallow, is that if you don't have a lot of friends, try reflecting on yourself. Why don't I have friends? Why don't those people hang out with me? Why don't that good friends that he has, why don't those people hang out with me? Maybe you're not sociable. Maybe you're not talking that much. Maybe you're not interesting like that. So whatever it is, don't try to change who you are, but make yourself presentable to other people so other people can actually be friends with you, if you understand what I'm saying. So this really makes sense, because you can't expect people to be your friends if you're not what they want, right? So everyone needs a friend who is interesting, who is funny, or who is talkative, who has topics to talk about, never run out of shit to talk about, who's always doing fun stuff. So everybody wants friends like this. And look at yourself and be like, am I that guy? If I was someone else, would I want to be friends with me? So this a lot connects with the last point we talked about, is that are you really that guy? And if you're not that guy, don't try to change yourself and become someone completely different to please others. That's not what you want to do. But what you want to do is make yourself presentable in a way where other people find it interesting. Example, let's just say you like a certain type of music and you want to listen to it, but everybody around you doesn't like that music. So rather than trying to blend in and say, oh, I like that music too, even if you hate it, rather than doing that, try to make yourself more presentable with your own choices, with your own life, but rather than not bothering them with their own life. So that's one of the best things that you can do, is that regardless of who your friends are, don't be a friend who is always judging, or don't be a friend who always critiques, because people have different opinions about things. And this is one of the things that people always get messed up, is that we don't have to align in the same path to be friends. We can have different point of views about some things, and we can really talk about it. We don't have to always walk on the same path to talk about things or be friends. Is that sometimes you believe something and I believe something, and it doesn't mean that you still can't be friends. You always can be friends with someone who have a different opinion, and at the same time, you don't always have to align yourself and change yourself to become a friend with that person. And if someone wants you to change who you are and says, hey man, I don't like what you do, change that, don't associate with those people, because those people are someone that you need to avoid in your life. And make sure you get away from those people so you can be yourself. You should be okay and you should be happy, and those people should be able to perceive who you are, the way you are, regardless of the situation. And that doesn't mean a friend is someone who always listens to anything stupid you do. That means that a friend lets you know what's right or wrong, but at the same time lets you take a decision on your own. That's a good friend. This is my take on friendships, and there are so much more things to talk about when it comes to friendship. You know, we can talk about hours and hours and hours on end about friends, because there are so many topics to talk about, so many different things to talk about. But this video was mainly about how can you identify good friends, or how can you be a good friend. So in this video, that's what we talked about. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you go down and like the video, subscribe to the channel, because I'll be posting almost every single day in this channel. And at the same time, if there are other things that you have went through, past experiences, or anything that relates to this subject where some other person can actually learn, go down in the comments and leave a message about anything that you think is valuable for someone else to learn, so they can actually learn from it. And as always, man, my name is Sahas, aka Sosa. Peace.